in Edgbaston. It's the drama, the disruption, the shock, the constant feeling of what's going to happen next during every phase of every day of the Test match. England's Bazball, you may not agree with the approach, but nobody can deny the excitement it brings into the game. England may or may not win the first Test, but they will know they played to win. So, is this the right way? Is Bazball the right way? Will this take the fear and pressure off you as a team? Does that make you a fearless side? Well, absolutely, but is it sustainable? That's the question. Can Bazball be long-term? That's what we are asking today. Jamie Orter joins us, who's a fan of Bazball, and I think everybody is a fan of Bazball as long as results go your way. But what happens when a team fails? What happens when a team loses? He's also someone I know who believes in some of those innovative field placements by Ben Stokes. But is there a point of this band of cricket when you end up on the losing side? That is the question. Vedam Jaishankar also joins us. Vedam, I know he loves conventional Test cricket, but I'm not sure he likes Brumbrella. Vedam, if you haven't seen what they were doing yesterday, we'll tell you about it. But let's just first talk about Bazball. Test cricket is conservative. Test cricket is about batters grinding it out in the middle for the longest period of time possible. Well, no more. Not for England, at least. They do not believe that kind of Test cricket is what they should be playing anymore. England have replaced patience with aggression, fear with flair, and tradition with innovation. And they've also got good results with that kind of approach, having won their last 4 Test series, their last 11 of the 13 Test matches they played. So there is no doubt that English team has made Test cricket more exciting. But with Australia fighting back in the first Test match, now the questions have been raised over England's tactics. Will Bazball come back to bite Ben Stokes? It has also raised the larger question, is Bazball the right way? England captain made an early declaration on day one with England on 393 for 8 with Joe Root on 118. The call was made to make sure Australia faced the new ball before stumps, but they didn't get a wicket. Australia's Usman Khawaja went on to score 141 runs, playing in the traditional way without the ramp shots or the reverse sweeps, taking Australia to 386. That was 7 runs short of England's lead. That's not all. Australian fast bowlers then used the overcast conditions to their advantage and dismissed the English openers, leaving the hosts at 28 for 2. And as we speak, England are 155 for 5. Are they in trouble? Let's put that question straight to Jamie. It's all nice and exciting, Jamie, when you're winning, but when results are not going your way, especially in the first Test match, questions are going to be asked.
Yes, good evening, Maya. Good evening, Vedam. Questions will be asked, and there's no right or wrong way to look at what's happening, right? While this term Bazball, we can debate the merits of what it's called. I'm happy for the name to be replaced. I could really care less what the term is. The fact is that here is a brand of cricket being played by one particular team, which happens to be England. But the approach came from a Kiwi. It was Brendan McCullum who came on board. And we've seen the way that Brendan McCullum, especially in his latter years when he led New Zealand, especially in one days and in Test cricket, he signed off with, I think, the fastest 100 ever in Test cricket, and there were not too many structural changes to the England team. This England team had won, I believe, 1 of 18 Test matches when the ECB, especially Rob Key, when he brought on board Ben Stokes as captain, and he took the left field pick to pick Brendan McCullum. Brendan McCullum is a maverick. He's a gambler. He has horses. He's a man who bets. So you get where this risk-taking nature comes from. Right now, my problem with the Brits in general are they're very jingoistic, especially their media, and they would like nothing more than to say that it was us who saved Test cricket. Right now, it was Brendan McCullum's idea. It's not an idea that came to the ECB. It's not an idea that came to Ben Stokes. This is very much the Brendan McCullum stamp. Now, that said, like Paul Collingwood said in yesterday's post-match conference, their vision of Bazball, or whatever you want to term it, it's not just about results. It's far greater. I'm okay if this brand of cricket, I don't care, I could care less whether England win or lose. If it's making the game attractive, if it's bringing fans to the stadium, not in England, but wherever this England team goes, if it's making Test cricket more attractive, I'm all for it, because unfortunately, there's too many test teams who are just not that good enough, and there's even fewer countries, Maya, where you get sold out crowds. We do not get sold out crowds in India, no matter what Virat Kohli and his team were doing in that 5 years. Very rarely did you see consistent sold out ground, and that just paints a poor picture from a broadcaster's perspective, from a fan, whoever we are. I think we want to see this great game, the greatest format to my mind, being played in front of loud, boisterous, happy fans. And unfortunately, you get that in England day in, day out. You get that in Australia on most days. We don't see it in too many countries. So if this team can go to Pakistan and bring 500 more fans, I'm looking forward to next year's five-test series in India. If this brand of cricket, Bazball, or whatever you want to call it, if it brings in fans, I think, like Paul Collingwood said, it's not just about results. It's about trying to make Test cricket more engaging, more attractive. To that extent, I'm okay. Because, like I said, I have nothing vested in English team. I don't support them. They can win, lose. It's okay. I just feel that if they're doing something which is making this lovely format more attractive, so be it.
No, but my question then is this tactically possible? Is that, Vedam, come in on this one? I mean, it's simple to say it's an approach. I do think that this is more than just an approach. It's a philosophy. It's something that they're trying to imbibe, that they're very consciously making an effort to just be able to absorb. But aggression is one thing, but that's not really the only way to play. And in a situation like England are in at this point, where they are 155 for 5 with 5 sessions left in the test match, they would look back and think maybe that declaration came way too early. So what I'm trying to say is that it's nice, it makes for exciting viewing, but at what point will you say we want to win this game and we'll do anything to win this game and not take very attacking decisions, aggressive decisions?
Hi, Maya. Look, Bazball or whatever they call it is a means to an end. It's not an end by itself. It's just a means to an end. England have been very smart, actually. If you look at the pitch that they have offered, this is perhaps one pitch where they could have played that kind of cricket, right from day one. If they had given the same pitch that we had for the WTC final, I don't think England would have gone hell for leather. In fact, last evening was a classic pointer. I think 10 overs, they got some 28 runs or so and lost 2 wickets. Now, that was a classic pointer of what this Bazball was all about. I mean, you couldn't go hell for leather there. You were hoping that the rains would come in and then would stop play and you could get off the ground. That is not any great advertisement for cricket. There was pressure and pressure on you. Having said that, yes, England right now have 6 or maybe 8 top order batsmen. I am not too convinced about the quality of their opening batsmen. Maybe if they had somebody like, let's say, Virender Sehwag or Matthew Hayden there, then that would have really made the Bazball all the better. But having said that, the rest of the batting is very strong and they are in a position actually to dictate terms. But look at it this way. It's like the charge of the right brigade, ask not to reason why, but just to do and die. Into the valley of death march the 600. It's like that. They have no choice. They just have to go for it. That's what they're expected to do. And is losing really your end? It's not your end. Of course, you want exciting cricket, but you want exciting cricket on your terms, not on the opposition's terms. And if you look at what Australia has done, Australia has been very smart. They have realized that they need to deny those boundaries. And, they've kept the field in such a way, they'll more and more. This will be probably the first option. Maybe later in the test, we'll see England continue going like that. They will not even bowl off the stumps. They'll keep bowling outside the off stump and allow England to take all the risks. See, because like I said, at the end of the day, whether it's a home team or any team, you'd like to win. If you don't win, if you start losing, then everybody will turn against you. And that's exactly what will happen. And I think while England have a good side and they can play this kind of game on this kind of a pitch, I'd like to see as the series unfolds how it works out.
The other thing being, like Vedam was saying, Jamie, was, when the conditions were overcast. and Pat Cummins had found that right line and length, and the way the English openers lost their wickets. You wonder, in that kind of conditions, would you be able to play that aggressive brand of cricket? Number one. Number two, results are going to be a thing. You're not playing the Ashes series for charity. You want to win. And both these teams really want to win the Ashes badly. So it's all good when, you start off well and it's the first test match. But, say you lose 2 test matches. Will you still be approaching your cricket the same way? It'll be difficult. It will not be easy for England. I mean, this is their sternest test in terms of playing this brand of cricket.
Absolutely, and there's no doubt, we should not be mistaken, Bazball is conducive on a certain kind of track, right? Which is why this is their biggest test, because before this, Bazball came almost entirely at home against New Zealand, against India, against South Africa. I think if you look at their whatever success this England team under Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum have had, the biggest success was beating South Africa after you were down 1-0. Because to play this brand of cricket, yes, at home, but and the tracks in that summer were a little bit spicier than what we've seen here. But all said and done, it came against the best fast bowling, or let's say the fastest fast bowling attack. Nagidi and Nokia and Rabada, these are fast bowlers. So that win stands out. What you did in Pakistan was also outstanding, but those were roads, right? So this is their biggest challenge because it's come against Pat Cummins, Scott Boland, Josh Hazlewood. Now the problem I have is if you depend on the tracks being rather flat, then if you're going to roll out 5 similar tracks as what we've seen at Edgbaston, then it's not going to be fun. But I don't, in my heart of hearts, think that that's what this England cricket philosophy is all about. Because we saw when they went to New Zealand, they played 2 test matches. They actually lost a test match playing this Bazball approach. But what a fantastic test that was. But those 2 test matches were played on arguably the truest surface that I've seen all year. Both the wickets in New Zealand, those were wickets that went the distance. That means on day 5, there was bounce, there were runs, there was seam, there was spin. If you could do it on those kind of tracks, hats off to you. But if you're going to be doing it on these feather beds like we're seeing at Edgbaston, then I have a bigger problem. Like I said, we can talk about whether they lose or not, but that's not our problem. That let the English media and fans hold them accountable. I'm talking as a neutral observer. I find it fascinating to watch because it's actually compelling me to watch them a bit more closer than I would watch some other team play overseas.
True, and absolutely. I think what you've also said is about the conditions, about the pitches that one is given to be able to play this kind of cricket. I don't see this happening in India, especially, on the spinning tracks. But the other thing, can this not be more balanced, Vedam? I mean, and why I'm saying this is that I'm sure world cricket is watching. Other countries are watching this approach and they're seeing this and they're saying, wow, this is actually great. When you win, you've been able to win matches from absolutely impossible situations. So you've made it very exciting. It is, you do win hearts when you declare with that attitude of wanting to win. I get it. But having said that, can this not be more balanced? Maybe have a few batters who can take that approach. What Rishabh Pant does for India. I mean, have somebody there, Alex Carey for them. The way he batted. But does everybody have to go hammer and tongs from the word go?
Well, if it pays off, yeah, they will be used to T20 cricket and taking it on to Test cricket. If it pays off, well and good. But I have my own doubts whether it is really sustainable. Because what is the true test of a Bazball? The true test is when you lose 2 tests. You lose 2 tests and then you start doubting whether this is a strategy. Would you like to go like this? Are you doing the right things? That's when the doubts start creeping in. 2 successive Ashes tests loss can change the whole scenario. It's not that England has suddenly discovered that aggression is the best form of defense. Not at all true. We had the Clive Lloyd's team, the West Indies team. They had one master batsman in Viv Richards, but they also had a number of other people who went hammer and tongs at the ball. If you remember, they chased 300 odd in 2 sessions against England and won a test match. So they won many places like that. Even the Australian team of a few years ago, which had Ponting and Hayden and a whole lot of Gilchrist, whole lot of aggressive batsmen over there. So it's not that England have discovered aggression. Of course, England was a team which had somebody like Chris Tavare and Jeff Boycott. They used to say when Jeff Boycott bats, the whole stadium sleeps, and when Chris Tavare bats, the whole of England goes to sleep. You know, they are coming from that background. Yeah, that is the situation. And for them suddenly to discover somebody who can score at 3 and 4 runs and over is a big thing. Yeah. And I am actually looking at Australian strategy, which I really think is very smart. They have done a lot of homework. If you look at it, they are not giving away the boundaries. They're saying, you want the boundaries? Come after me and take the boundaries. And they're doing it very well. Earlier teams didn't understand what was happening and they leaked too many boundaries. That's not happening. And if Australia gets a faintest sniff that the wicket is doing something or the weather is doing something, immediately they switch to attack. And that's a very good thing to do. So I think this is going to be a fascinating series if both teams continue playing as they are playing right now.
Okay, so that's the question that we're asking our viewers as well. What do you think? Is Bazball sustainable even for world cricket? Can other countries, take that approach forward? Is that sustainable? Do let us know. Also, England are not in a situation right now in this first test match that they'd like to be in. They are already 155 for 5 sessions remaining. Was declaration a problem? Did they declare too early? This is what former cricketer Mark Butcher has to say. He said, I was absolutely flabbergasted by that decision. Great theatre and all the rest of it, wonderful. But how much would England have liked another 50 runs on top of their target as of right at this minute? This is him saying this on the third day. Playing fast and loose with totals in the first innings when time is very much on your side in test matches. I understand it in games where you're trying to push time back in. But at that point on day one of a test match, wow, what a decision that is. And that could yet come back to bite England on the backside at some point over the next couple of days. Jamie, they would have liked a 80 to 100 run lead there, wouldn't they? I mean, right now, if they look back, they would have wanted that as a cushion. Right now they're in trouble.
See, so the thing, the one glaring problem that we can see with Bazball is that, and this is not just about having them declare at 393. When you score faster, but then you don't get in that realm of 450, 500, what you're doing is you're allowing your opposition more time to play the traditional game, right? Yes, Australia have certain players who, in better form, would have probably matched or even outdone. Someone like a David Warner was doing Bazball before this term came around, right? They have someone like Travis Head. But you've allowed them to bat for a long time. You've also struggled to take wickets across 5 sessions. Usman Khwaja played a very traditional test innings, right? To take them almost to within level, right? Had England not taken the last 4 wickets for 14, 15 runs in very quick time, Australia well could have been in the lead, right? So it's all good fun. I found it a very bold declaration. I think we're all surprised. But I thought 393 was not going to be enough, because if you don't take wickets, Australia can just bat for 2 days and they can build a lead of 75, 80, which would have been golden here. Yeah. So yes, I think somehow in hindsight, but again, we can, like they say, only judge the pitch when both teams have batted twice. Where that day one declaration will come into proper judgment is only at the end of this match. If England win this match, which I think they can, then it'll be like a masterstroke. If they lose it, and Vedam is absolutely right, if you're all of a sudden 0-2 down, then what happens to Bazball? Yeah. They've not been in that situation. I think something popped up here on our screens that they'd won 11 of 13 test matches. Where did this whole shift? Where was Joe Root forced to step aside? Where did Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum come on board? It's because they had won 1 of 18 test matches leading up to that, So a team which was roundly losing, home, away, everywhere, for them to win 11 out of 13, hats off to whoever is behind this move.
We can have different opinions about whether this is sustainable, but I think all 3 of us will agree that this is very exciting. I mean, we've already seen the theatre that everyone's been talking about. We were expecting this, but first test match itself, it has surpassed all expectations. And Vedam, that's why I guess, this whole idea that this makes Test cricket exciting, and that's what England is after. Of course, if they lose the first 2 Test matches from here on, what will that be like? Will they continue? That's for another day. But just talking about some of the things Ben Stokes is doing as a captain in this Test match, declaration aside, that's controversial, but field placements, bowling changes, they've been exciting to watch. I mean, anyone who's been seeing it, in comes Steve Smith. There's a wonderful article written by our friend Sriram Veera for the Indian Express, where he's talking about whether it's not just Bazball but Bazbait in the way that they're trying to bait the Australian batters. And there are some brilliant examples there. One I'm just sticking out, that where he said that, the moment Steve Smith came into bat, they got Harry Brook in, because knowing Steve Smith, he would have had plans for every English bowler, but he definitely wouldn't have planned for Harry Brook. So, the idea is that somebody is going to come and disrupt his plans, because he's just, he's just such a cricket nerd, and he studies every bowler that he's going to come up against. So it's interesting in the way he's gone about the captaincy itself. And that he's been constantly innovating. We're also going to talk about Brumbrella, but that's something that he needs to be applauded for, where he's not letting the game drift away.
Yeah, absolutely. I have no doubt about that. In fact, I like the fact that they declared when they did, because that caught the opposition off guard. And I think it caught a lot of cricket followers off guard, because you don't expect a declaration on the first day. And you certainly don't declare when you have a 393 is not such a big total. You don't declare at that stage. But maybe if you had got 1 or 2 wickets, then everything would have gone their way. They didn't get those wickets. But it was a good, bold declaration, and definitely maybe you would have got another 20-30 runs next day perhaps. But he was willing to risk that, throw it away for a wicket or 2 early. So I think there are aggressive streaks. A lot of the field placing is actually in your face, meant to irritate the batsman, get into his mind, and make him play strokes that he wouldn't like to play. And that too, I like that, because then again, it's questioning the batsman's temperament, his capability, and like you said, is he prepared for Harry Brook? It doesn't matter. At the most, Harry Brook can be hit for 36 runs in 1 over. You're willing to risk that third 36 runs if you can get a wicket of Steve Smith. So that's fine. That's a throw. It's a gamble which is loaded in your favor. It's not loaded in favor of the opposition. It's a gamble loaded in your favor. It's just 1 over, and a test match can't change in that one single Harry Brooks over. But on the other hand, if you're able to get a wicket like Steve Smith, then that would have done its part. So I think the constant changes that he's bringing, he's ensuring the batsman is not settled down, and he's also ensuring that the batsman sees a different field all the time. So it's not a comfortable, even if he has worked out in the previous over that he's going to squeeze one past point or third man or whatever. Suddenly he finds that there are fielders elsewhere, and for me the worrisome part is the pitch. The pitch itself is worrisome. If this is the kind of pitch we're going to get for the rest of the series, I think it will be a very poor series. It will just be on these kind of strategies and tactics. There's only so much that you can do with these.
True. Hopefully we don't get to see that, and we'll see some more juice in the pitches in the next few matches that we'll see. But what we've been talking about, the field placement, and if you've been wondering this one term that's been doing the rounds that everybody's talking about, is Brumbrella. So if you're wondering what that is, well, in the 113th over on day 3, you can see the picture of that. That is Brumbrella, just around the batter. This is on day 3 of the Edgbaston Test. Ben Stokes, he'd had enough. He tried everything to dismiss Usman Khawaja, who just wasn't biting the bait. He was batting at 141 not out at the time. He's looked good and looked like he'd bat all through the day. Stokes has set up an onside catching field a little while earlier. And then what he did was he decided to match it on the offside as well. So in a strange field arrangement that you saw the visual of, there were 6 catchers in front of Khawaja, almost like an inverted umbrella. Khawaja tried to go over the fielders and was yorked out by Ollie Robinson. So Brumbrella is a term used to signify a large pitch cover to protect the ground, and the 6 fielders were placed like an umbrella around the pitch, hence Brumbrella. Jamie, I mean, you know, some people may say outlandish, but again, it makes for the theatre that people have been talking about. And at the end, it may not be because of those fielders around him, but Khwaja did lose his wicket. So, you know what, you try and sometimes you succeed. It doesn't matter how you go around succeeding.
Well, I think it's the second part of your statement there, right? It got the wicket of a batsman who'd frustrated you for 5 sessions. Job done, right? Again, these terms which the British media to come up with, that's fine. Like I said, they're very, very jingoistic, and they like to believe that they're the ones who are going to save this great game. But look, it's a tactic it's a very left field, it's a very unorthodox tactic. But when it gets the partnership, you have to say it worked. Because the day before, Meha, when England were really struggling to get wickets, and you thought, hey, maybe Australia might even go into the lead. Ben Stokes tried a lot of things, right? I mean, he probably did 3-4, at least maybe 2 sessions of T20 captaincy to try and choke the batsman, to try and bring wickets. And it was not a super day for England. But the very next day, Sunday, day 3, when he does things like that and it gets Usman Khwaja's wicket, bottom line is everyone will say, look, it did produce a very good ball. Could Khwaja have played it better on 140 odd? Absolutely. Yeah. But just look at that. I mean, I have not seen anything so surreal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, you know. You've seen 2, 3 here and there, but to have 6 people in the form of an umbrella, that's quite radical, and it worked out. So I think that's all that really matters from an England perspective.
Yeah, Ricky Ponting said that he'd not seen something like that ever in his career. So it has to be outlandish enough with him. But you know what? If it works, why not?
Yeah, sure. And I think what we're really missing is the third man was left open. You know, there was no third man there. He had 6 people in the front, but the third man was left open. I think there was a short third man who was more squarer towards point rather than third man. And that's where Khwaja tried to squeeze the ball. He thought he'll try to squeeze the ball to third man and get a boundary, missed it, and he was bowled. Yeah, there it shows. You know, you just have one short point, like it's not even a third man. And I think Khwaja fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. Let's give the devil its due, really. But I think also he's batted for so long and so well. I think he would have thought he can do anything with the bat at that stage. Maybe play it fine, play it square, play it whatever you wanted to. It's just that like they say in cricket, it's a question of one ball, and that one ball got him. Yeah, but like I said earlier, that these kind of fields are actually deliberately made to irritate you, you know, get on your mind, irritate you, make you do something which you normally wouldn't, which is what Khwaja normally wouldn't have tried to play that late cut or whatever he trying to steer it to third man. He normally wouldn't have done that. He would have rather played straight down the line, and it fetched the wicket. And I think as we go along, we'll see a lot of the strategies. But like I said earlier, there are only so many strategies that you can employ, and we'll see how many they run out within the next test or 2.
But you do have to give credit to the way Ben Stokes was trying everything. You know, you've got to admire him for just not letting Khwaja just bat on. Just wanted to try everything, and he did, and it worked. Now, this is what happened when Ollie Robinson yorked Usman Khwaja at 141. There was an immediate reaction where he celebrated by shouting towards Khwaja and appeared to tell him to F off, you effing prick. To which he was asked about it later in the press conference, saying that really is that the way he wanted to send him off? And he said, and that quote's going to come up on your screens, and what he said was, it's my first home Ashes. So, to get the big wicket at the time was special for me. Uzi played unbelievably well. To get that wicket for us at the time was massive. We all want that theatre of the game, so I'm here to provide it. I don't really care how it's perceived, to be honest. It's the Ashes. It's professional sport. If you can't handle that, what can you handle? It almost seems like tables have turned, Jamie. This was Australia. When did this become England, where English players are just non-apologetic for yelling expletives at the Aussies. And Aussies probably, I don't know, didn't give it back because, you know, they're doing a complete opposite of what they were after what happened with Sandpaper Gate and trying to, you know, make their PR better. So how do you see this?
Look, I think it was uncalled for because Usman Khwaja, I mean, I've sat in a couple of his press conferences. We've seen him. He only gets emotional when he scored 100, and all these emotional outbursts have come because he himself admitted that he resigned to the fact that he's not playing Test cricket, right? So then it came against a batsman who batted really, really well, scored 140 odd, not want to get in your face. I thought it was uncalled for, but you understand, you know, as a fast bowler, you're running in, you got a tough day behind you. Here, the moment you get a wicket, you're prone to say things. While I felt it was uncalled for, I mean, if Australians are having a problem with what he said, then I mean, I think we're all watching a very different game. You know, one of the earliest memories that I have, at least from when I started watching, of an Indian giving it back was when Javed Miandad in his first tour to Australia, he bounced up Ricky Ponting and he sent him on his way. You know, now you can watch that clip, but here's someone who, I mean, when Javed Miandad first came, he was very quick. You know, but someone from Mysore, one of the most scenic mini hill stations in the south, for him to suddenly, we're like, what are we watching here? And Indians giving it back to Ponting, because we know Ponting and the Australians, they're always in your face, you know. So I think just given Australia's history of giving it off and saying far worse things, if they're getting it now and then, let it happen.
It looks like they're imbibing that approach in a full way, Vedam. I mean, it's not just aggression on the field. I mean, aggression on the field, but even in the press conference being completely nonchalant about what he did. He was not at all apologetic. He was asked whether, you know, abusing an opponent could really be considered part of the theatre of the game. And he said, look, I mean, it's the Ashes. You've got to have that passion for the Ashes. He was asked about how that might be received by the Aussie dressing room, and he's like, I don't really care how it's perceived, to be honest. It's the Ashes. It's professional sport. If you can't handle it, what can you handle? So there's a bit of mind games there as well, and it's just the beginning of the Ashes.
See, Robinson is obviously he's not aware that the spirit of the game is embedded in the 2000s laws of cricket code. You know, it's embedded. What you can say, what you can't say, what you can do, what you can't do. It's all there. Why is cricket? Actually, cricket is one of the few games which has got a spirit to it. You know, the spirit of the game. But why are all these things being done? Even if you look at tennis, you had a McEnroe, you know, who called it a rage for perfection. You know, his bad behavior. And many of these things have toned down because every sport in the world today is trying to become a family sport. You know, the sponsors demand it because the pie can be larger only if you get the whole family into the sport. And so every sport is, you know, it's toning down the players' behavior, it's toning down the language, it's toning down the body language, the attitude, everything is being toned down so that the entire family can be comfortable in that. And I think Robinson will know very quickly what exactly it is. And if he can't shape up, then I think he'll have a tough time because first he'll attract fines. Like in tennis, is automatically when you come to a certain amount, you get a ban or a suspension, and which will happen to him. And then maybe his agent will educate him better, and along with that, the ECB will also maybe educate him better.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there is, according to ICC's Code of Conduct, Regulation 2.5 bans players from using language, action, or gestures which disparage or which provoke an aggressive reaction from a batter upon his or her dismissal, but he's declined to comment on the possibility of a sanction. So we'll see what happens. But having said that, the one thing he did say, Jamie, during the press conference is that he's spoken about how the way they've bowled has been instrumental in how Australia have played. And he said, we made them play in a way that they have. The aggressive nature of the way that we've gone about it, be it our batting or bowling, has made them play more defensively. It's not normally something that you see from an Australian side, but the way that we're playing under Ben and Baz is causing that to happen. Do you agree?
I don't know. It's not like they're playing, you know, overly defensive, right? They knew, like I mentioned, when you declare on day one and you've not got, I mean, let's face it, 393 was not a safe total, right? Because of the nature of the pitch, and there was also rain forecast for day 3 and 4. So while it was a bold declaration, it was not a safe declaration. So you knew that if Australia's batsmen found some form and found some time, they could easily bat the better part of 2 days. And they very nearly did do that, So I think it's a comment which comes from a place of dominance, maybe a bit too cocky.
Yeah.
So again, like I said, we can judge all these declarations, all these actions, how a certain team plays, how a certain team doesn't play, only when the result is there. And I have no doubt that unless rain really ruins any of these 5 matches, Meha, every match is going to get a result, because Bazball does not believe in draws. It does not give room for draws. And I think Australia, especially coming after the WTC final, the way which they beat India, and given the fact that it's coming up to 22 years since any Australian captain won the Ashes on English soil, they might not openly say it, but I think the Aussies will also do their best to try and play a bit more aggressively as the series goes. So I think those comments at the end of the day came from from a place of security and perhaps overconfidence.
Overconfidence in this case, I would think, after what has happened so far on day 4. Quickly, before I move on to the next topic, advantage Australia, Jamie?
I don't know, because look, right now, what is the lead? Lead must be around 180. I think play is resumed. If Ben Stokes finally turns up after a long time, if Johnny Bairstow clicks, they could easily set Australia something like 300 and 310 and say, here, guys, go have a go. So it's just the unpredictable nature of the kind of brand of cricket that England is playing. You really cannot say. Had the lead been 67 and they were 5 down, I would have said advantage Australia. But right now, I don't think the advantage really lies anywhere near Australia.
Okay, what about you, Vedam? 158 for 5 is what England are on at the moment. They've got a lead of 165 runs.
I think England is in trouble. Because if you look at it, somebody like Ben Stokes, I think he's about 10 from 35 or 40 deliveries. He's not playing the Bazball. I think he's a little careful. I'm not sure if Moeen Ali is at the top of his game, especially after his finger injury. He may not be. And I don't know how fit these two guys are, Stuart Broad and Anderson, to continue bowling. Their body has already taken a lot of pounding. I'm sure they'd like to have a lot of rest. So whether Moeen Ali can bowl in the second innings, and the pitch also is quite flat. It's not doing anything. So if you give them time and you don't give them too many runs, I think this Australian team will just overpower this English side in the second innings. That's how it is. Unless they get into a really good challenging total in the second innings, which as it's going looks a little doubtful.
Okay, then let's move on. Former Pakistan captain Javed Miandad doesn't want Pakistan to travel to India for the World Cup. In an interview, he's launched an attack on India and the BCCI, saying that if he had to make a decision, he would never go to India. He also went on to say that Pakistan cricket is bigger and has been producing quality players. Listen in.
और जब तक इंडिया हमारे पास नहीं आती है, इंडिया की टर्न है. इंडिया सपोज टू बी कम एंड प्ले क्रिकेट इन पाकिस्तान, तो हम खेल के आए हुए. तो हमारा पहले यही होता था, एक साल यूं एक साल नहीं हुआ. जब तक स्पोर्ट्स वो चीज है कि ये बुराइयों से बचाती है, ये एक दो कंट्रियों को मिलाती है, इससे आपके रिलेशन बनते हैं. तो मेरा तो बिल्कुल संग कि हमें, अगर इंडिया जब तक हमारे पास नहीं आता, नहीं खेलता है, हमें कोई जरूरत नहीं है. वी आर बेटर देन देम. हमारी क्रिकेट उनसे बहुत ऊंची है और बहुत जबरदस्त है. हमें इनकी फिक्र नहीं है. मैं कहता भाड़ में जाऊँ, नहीं आते सीधा, हमें क्या फर्क पड़ता है. वी हैव इनफ मनी, एवरीथिंग, ग्राउंड, क्रिकेटर्स हमारे पैदा. हर क्रिकेटर जो है वर्ल्ड में उसका नाम है. कितने क्रिकेटर्स हैं आज भी पाकिस्तान. तो मैं इस चीज पे कभी बिलीव नहीं करता. जब तक वो नहीं आता, हम हमेशा हाथ बढ़ा के बात करें, फ्रेंडशिप करें, जैसे पहले होता था.
Bit of a loose cannon. I don't know how seriously he must be taken, Jamie, but why do you need to make these comments? I mean, everything seems to be fine. Asia Cup, hybrid model has been accepted. You know, PCB's got 4 matches in Pakistan. World Cup very much, you know, we know where the first draft is out. Pakistan will be playing in Ahmedabad. Is this really needed?
No, it's not needed. But again, it's Javed Miandad, so let's not take him too seriously. Also, it seems like he's coming out of an airport or some public event, and we've all been there. We've been the ones with holding mics. When you're asked a question, you're gonna give an answer, right? And he knows the power of the media. Forget Pakistan cricket. Not much has been going right for Pakistan, the nation, in the last 5-6 months, right? So can we actually expect him to say something else when there's 17 mics in his face? Let's face it, no, right? And he's Javed Miandad. He's entitled to his opinion. Not the first time he said something which is a little bit silly. And the same thing would have happened to, I can reel off 5 or 6 former Indian cricketers of his era, of his stature, who'd also say the same things too. Theek, it's fine.
That's all that you have to say. Vedam, do you want to say anything more? I know Jamie's saying that he is entitled to his opinion, but his opinion does not have to include "aao to aao, nahi to bhaad mein jao." You don't need that.
See, there are 2 cricketers in Pakistan nobody takes seriously. One is Sarfaraz Nawaz, the other is Javed Miandad. Both talk rubbish all the time. And I think, I don't know about Sarfaraz Nawaz, I'm 100% sure that Javed Miandad is paid by somebody to stir the pot. And every now and then he comes and talks and then goes back. The next 6 months you won't hear anything from him. So every now and then he'll come. So somebody must be paying him to talk and make this kind of noise. But I don't think we should bother about him at all, because he is not even important. He's a nobody. Let's face it. Even they don't take him seriously.
Jamie, you wanted to come in and say something, huh?
No, I'm saying exactly. I'm on the same page here. Let's not take him seriously. But more than that, he said "bhaad mein jao." I'm not surprised. But for him to say that our cricket is far much better than them, that's a joke, right? And the Pakistan fans should be taking offense to that. I do not rate Pakistan as a one-day team. They're a very poor one-day team. T20, they somehow managed to do well because of Josh and Jazba, and because a lot of their players have actually played that format much more. And in Test, you look what's happening. They're rolling out these rows. Ramiz Raja was such an embarrassment. He was a fine batsman, decent commentator, but Ramiz Raja, when he was PCB chairman, right, to make all these statements. But I'm saying, look at what you literally gave roads to New Zealand, you gave roads to Australia. Australia beat you on those roads. England beat you on those roads. How long are you going to say, oh, for 10 years we couldn't play at home? You're playing at home now. You're not able to win consistently. So that statement for me is the most laughable, because your standard of cricket is not that good. He's probably swayed by the fact that Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan are ranked so higher. But they play far more T20 matches and one-day matches than half the other teams. And they're all being played at home. So like Vedam said, don't take this guy too seriously.
The other thing being that PCB's analytical committee has analyzed this and said that Chennai may not be the place where they should be playing Afghanistan. Are you sitting and deciding this as to which is the venue where you're going to get the match and whether that venue is good enough for you to be able to play, Vedam?
When was the last time this analytical team came to Chennai? They won't even be allowed inside India. What are they talking? They have a football team which is hanging out in Mauritius, where more than 9 or 10 of them are actually overseas citizens, and their passport is not even welcome in India. What are they talking about? They won't even get a visa to come into India. So I think this analytical team, or whatever you call them, I think it's a whole lot of bunkum. Somebody sits somewhere, they want to stir the pot a bit and try to push India as much as they can. I don't think we should care for them. If they're interested in playing in Chennai, they can come. If they're not interested, they can go and play elsewhere. We don't need them.
But then there's a big question, gentlemen. When will we get the schedule for the World Cup?
I just want to add one more thing. Wasn't it you who brought to my attention, Maya, some few months ago that lights were stolen from PCB headquarters and all, right? So they should be focusing more on analyzing why the floodlights are being picked up from Gaddafi Stadium rather than what's happening in Chennai, right? Pakistan cricket has become a joke for several years. So yeah.
No, but then the other question, it's high time. I know now they're saying that it's going to come by the end of this week, but when will they announce the World Cup dates?
That's a big question, because I really don't know what they are waiting for, really, because I think we need to give everybody a chance. I'm just not talking about the teams alone, the fans, the hotel industry, the airline industry, the television crews. Everybody has to be given a chance. And we know that where India is concerned, there'll be a lot of tourists following Indian team, but also England, Australia, they all have a habit of going along with the team. And, I think we need to be fair to them too. And especially the hotel industry. Otherwise, we're going to cop a lot of, negative feedback. They'll say the hotels were not prepared, that was not prepared, the grounds were not okay. And, the whole lot of things will come in. We don't need that. We need to give ourselves, I'm not talking about others, we need to give ourselves a lot of time, to prepare, be ready, and look organized. You can say that you're organized at the back, you only haven't just announced the dates. That's not good enough. You also need to appear to be organized. And for that, they need to do everything well in advance to show that you have, you're on top of the game and you're in control. And right now, it doesn't look like you're in control. And that's bad for Indian cricket.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you so much, Jamie Alter and Vedam Jaishankar, for joining us here. What we are hearing is that we are going to get the schedule out by Friday. That's when the official schedule will be out for World Cup 2023. That's it from us. News 9 Live is what you need to subscribe to for all the latest from the world of sports. How do you like our programming? Do let us know in the comment section below. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.